Welcome to Out Here with Kids podcast. I'm your host, Nancy Weaver, and this is where we talk about the messy, clumsy, hope nobody's watching moments that come with raising kids. Every week we talk about those struggles and what happens when they spill out into public spaces and what ordinary people can do to support rather than judge. So if you have ever tried to stay calm in aisle 7, this podcast is for you. So today, I want to talk about sports. So in all of my years of raising children, I would say that nothing has really exposed my inability to manage my own emotions than watching my kids on the sports fields and arenas and pitches. And this has been interesting for me because I didn't realize this at the beginning of my parenting journey. And only later in life did I come to find out that so much of your parenting vulnerability shows up when you're sitting on the sidelines. And I want to tell you a couple of stories that illustrate this and maybe end with some, reflections. All right, so here's the first story. We'll get right into it. So I'm at the soccer field, and I'm in St. Louis, Missouri, and soccer is a big thing in St. Louis. So insert whatever sport is, really a big thing in your space. I was talking with a friend of mine. She goes, "Why do you always use soccer as an example?" I'm like, "'Cause I'm surrounded by soccer." I'm waiting for the game to begin. I'm in the stands, and I see a dad coming across the walkway, and his son is running up to him. And his son, just grabs him around the waist. And he is just so appreciative. "Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Dad. Thank you so much." And I'm just kind of wondering, okay, what has this dad done to make his kids so grateful in this moment? And then out of his pocket, the dad gives him the right color jersey. And I look over, I'm like, yeah, sure enough, that kid's got on a green jersey and his whole team's wearing white jerseys. So that kid has left the house that morning getting ready for the soccer game and he's got the wrong color jersey on. And his dad just quietly hands him the right color jersey. The kid whips off his shirt, puts on the other jersey, runs back to his team. All is well with the world. So I say to the dad, who's kind of within earshot, but not really, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I have been there." And he just kind of smiles and he's like, "Well, I'm glad we live pretty close by so I could go do that." I said, "Yeah, one time my son was at a tournament out of town and forgot his jersey. And luckily we had a friend that was coming up the next day and was able to bring the jersey." Things like this happen all the time. If my job in that moment is to raise a boy who is responsible, who doesn't forget things, and is grateful, how do I respond when he says to me at 8:30 in the morning, "Oh my gosh, Dad, I brought the wrong jersey"? You have this moment of decision as a parent. I think some parents would say, "What in the world? I cannot believe it. I told you to get the right jersey. I told you to check your backpack. I told you to make sure you have everything. And here you are showing up at 8:30 in the morning and you don't have your stuff. Well, you're just going to have to sit out the game." So that approach, I want us to think about that approach. The anger that comes through when we respond like that is really something going on in us. Like maybe we weren't really supported when we were a kid. Maybe we are really struggling because we didn't have coffee and breakfast that morning. Maybe we are in a place where there's so many constraints and pressures on us that we can't really take a break or take a minute and see what's going on with our kid. So our kid, yes, absolutely needs to learn about management of their things going forward. However, if they're met with anger and hostility and aggression and punishment when they do, it makes them a little hesitant to come to us with things. And the biggest goal that we should have in any moment of parenting is that we establish and maintain connection with our kid. So if we approach that as like, I can't believe you forgot your water bottle, shoes, cleats, bat, correct uniform, that reflects on us more than it reflects on the kid. Because look at this kid. This kid's 8, 15, 12. They're still learning these things. They don't have full capacity to remember things. They need systems and structures to help them. They need you to stay connected as they learn. And you'll know as a parent how much support they need in remembering their stuff. But if you prioritize your own anger, like I'm going to teach them, I'm going to, insert punishment, that disconnects your kid from you. And that's not ideal. Imagine that you're out with your spouse and you look down and your spouse is like, oh, I forgot my wallet. I forgot my keys. I forgot my jacket. I forgot to do the thing for work. I have to run back by the office. As adults, we forget things all the time. And we hopefully treat each other graciously when that happens. Sure, hon. Sure, babe. Let's go by the office real quick before we hit our dinner reservation. Sure, here you can use my sweater. We treat each other respectfully, and we are there for support when those things happen. Why should it be any different with our kids when they forget their band instrument at school or forget their lunch? Kids learn by repeatedly having people in their corner who support them. And it's a beautiful thing when they feel like they can come to you and be like, Mom, I cannot believe I did this, but I brought the green jersey and not the white jersey. Is there any chance you can run back by the house and pick up the white jersey? And if there is, I'm all over it. Now, the pickle is this was happening in front of everybody. The whole team is looking over at that dad. The whole team is looking over at that kid, and they're wondering, what's the dad going to do? And I guarantee you there are some people on that team and on the bench and on the sidelines that are going, I would never have brought my child's jersey to them. They need to learn to be responsible for their things. And that dad is feeling that judgment from those parents. And then there's a whole bunch of other parents that are like, oh my gosh, that dad is just being too soft on that boy. That boy really needs to toughen up. How's he going to toughen up if his dad is pampering him like this? Okay. And the dad is feeling all of that. And then there's some of us like me, I'm like, great job, dad. That dad showed up for his kid. That dad was his child's ally. That dad was giving signals to his kid very clearly that I've got your back. And in the long run, if the kid knows that and feels that, it's going to protect that kid from lots of different things that are lurking around the corner as adolescence falls upon them, if you will. Story number 2 is about a catcher. And for those of you who know baseball, catchers are sort of, they kind of run the show on the baseball field and the softball field. They have advantage of the entire field. They call the pitches. A lot of the flow of the game is really dependent on the catcher. So at this one game, the catcher misses a ball. The ball goes past the catcher, and the catcher allowed a run to score. Okay, not good for the catcher. So the catcher's feeling really bad about himself. He's slamming down his glove. He slams down his helmet, and he really is kind of going at it for a while. He's saying all these angry things about himself. You're so stupid. You can't even catch the ball. He's stomping. It's quite a display from this catcher. His mom is in the stands not far away, and his mom starts saying things like, Jacob, stop that. Jacob, stop that right now. And it was a moment, just like the dad who brought the uniform. It was a moment where everybody's watching Jacob as the catcher and also watching mom. What's mom going to do? What's Jacob going to do? And pretty soon, Jacob kind of calms down. The mom kind of calms down, but the whole energy of the inning is kind of amped up. His teammates come over to him as the inning is over and kind of try to cheer him up. He's having none of that. Turns out the coach takes him out and puts in a different catcher and leaves Jacob kind of sitting on the bench. And Jacob is sort of still stewing. His head is dipped and he's really angry. There are 2 things to think about here. Number 1 is, as a mom, what could you do in that moment to help Jacob? The second question is, as a teammate, as a parent of a teammate just hanging out on the sidelines, what can you do as another adult in the space, maybe to help the mom feel a little bit better? So here are some ideas. Number one, Jacob is never going to calm down, so to speak, in that moment if people are lecturing at him or yakking at him to calm down. So when the mom is saying, Jacob, stop, Jacob, calm down, Jacob isn't in a space to do that. So he's become dysregulated. He's upset. He has done something that has disappointed himself, and he doesn't really understand what to do with the emotion of disappointment and anger. So this is something that Jacob needs to learn moving forward, but he ain't gonna learn it in that moment. So language and dialogue and a teachable moment right then, not the move. Waiting until later to have the conversation is the move. Number two is like that mom getting amped up. Jacob, stop, Jacob, stop. That is going to even further exacerbate Jacob, because he might be thinking, I need to show everybody how upset I am with myself. Otherwise, they're going to think that I don't know what I did was wrong. I don't know what's happening in Jacob's mind, but all I know is he's very upset. So the best thing for Jacob is if everybody around him can try to stay calm. Now, we're not going to blow it off. We're not going to say it wasn't an error. We're not going to say it's okay because he's upset. It's not okay. He allowed a run to score, might have even cost them the game. But to help your child practice the resilience and help them learn that even those difficult emotions they can weather and they can tolerate and they can figure it out requires that us as the adults stay calm. So if you're on the sidelines and that happens, you certainly don't want to go, yeah, Jacob. And you certainly don't want to go to the mom, oh my gosh, why'd he let that ball through? You want to appreciate that this is a difficult moment for both of them. You want to offer kindness. You want to offer some kind of support. You might offer a bit of humor if that's appropriate. But you want to be careful that you're not side-eyeing or having some, you know, quip about how Jacob wasn't prepared or now we're going to lose the game. That's not going to help anybody in that situation. And I see a lot of time in youth sports that there's this heavy weight placed on performance and not enough weight placed on the emotional resilience that's required from these kids. So we need to acknowledge, yeah, that kind of sucked. And also, you can handle the emotion of anger and disappointment and frustration. And also, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be calm so that you can regulate with me in a calmer space. At Support Over Silence for Kids, we have written some blogs about these kinds of situations. And it's really fun to think about how you can work with other people on your team to really change the texture of how your team handles loss and disappointment. Because if your kids can learn at an early age how to process and manage missing a game, missing a ball, bringing the wrong uniform, if they can do that with the support of you as their caregivers and you as the people on the sidelines, they're going to have a bright future in not only athletics, but in all sorts of endeavors that they choose.